Alright, so this is a suggestion via Patreon. The name of the video is Meet the World's Worst Roommate. This is coming from Casual Geographics, guys. Go and check it out.
If you think your life sucks, be glad you're not this fish. This fish has a parasite called Simathoa exigua, but its real name is a tongue-eating louse. And that's because it'll enter the fish by climbing through the gills and crawling into its mouth. Then this parasite cuts all the blood vessels in the tongue until it shrivels up and dies. And this parasite becomes the tongue. For as long as the host fish is alive, the tongue eater lives rent-free in its mouth, either feeding off of whatever the fish eats or straight up living off the blood of its host. Fish use their tongues to help them swallow food, but with its original tongue destroyed, the tongue eater helps keep the fish alive by bringing food down its throat. But honestly, that's the very least they can do. Now the messed up part is if that parasite dies, then the fish will probably become a pack too, since it won't be able to eat and it'll starve to past tense. It's the only parasite that actually replaces one of the body parts of its host, and once it does, it's there for life because the fish becomes dependent on it. Yeah, it's a toxic relationship. To add...
Okay, question. Whatever fish that these parasites are attracted to, do we eat them? Let me know. I hope not. I'm just going to let everyone know. Right?
Insult to whatever the you want to call this. If the fish dies, the parasite can always move on by detaching itself from the stub of a tongue and swimming out the fish's mouth. Probably to find the next victim to leech
Fishes?
off. Like Instagram models with child support. See you, Brittany Renner. So yeah, kind of a dick move. At least after this parasite blinds a shark by eating its cornea, it acts as a fishing lure which helps a Greenland shark catch more food. But the tongue eater hands the fish a disability only to end up as its crutch. Cause just like people, you don't need venom to be toxic as
Right.
This is one of the nastiest things in the entire ocean. This is a hagfish, and its claim to fame is that if it feels afraid or threatened in any way, it'll start releasing loads of slime. The idea is that if you try to eat it, the end will fall choking to death on demon discharge. A motivated hagfish can fill a 5-gallon bucket full of slime in only a couple of minutes. Basically, it's like a... How do I say this without getting banned?
Relax.
It's like this, but in Spanish. I don't think I'm allowed to explain any further. It's honestly to the point where even sharks avoid them because the hagfish can produce so much slimy, gooey nonsense that it can actually clog the shark's gills and basically choke them. This is what happens when a car-carrying hagfish gets rear-ended. Because hagfish slime themselves in fear, it shut down traffic on both sides for 3 hours. All while making the roads look like a humpback that just discovered whale hub. That's not even the worst thing about them, because I didn't tell you how this satanic water works. The hagfish will bury itself into a corpse and eat the rotting, decaying body that was probably laying there for days from the inside out. And as a scavenger with no jaws, the hagfish often enters the body through the softest spot, which is usually the back door exit. This is what happens when the save as draft button is too small and you end up posting some bullshit instead.
It's just come straight at me again. Oh, how intimidating is this? Yes!
So apparently there's a lot of people that didn't know we have snakes in the ocean. I'm not talking about your ex at the beach. I'm talking about the venomous, toxic, kill you kind. Yeah, that didn't narrow it down. Nah, but sea snakes are an actual thing. There's almost 60 species of them, and after years of plot development, they've adapted to live where they honestly have no business. Because they have larger lungs than normal, some of them can hold their breath.
I'm done with the ocean. All right. I don't like snakes, guys. All right. I don't know what it is. I'm not really a fan of snakes. I've never really been a fan of snakes. If you like snakes, I love the fact that you love snakes. I don't like snakes, guys. All right. So, I try to stay away from every single thing involving snakes. Now, question: do these snakes come up to the beach? All right. Are snakes and eels the same thing if a snake is in the water? I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm completely ignorant. You can laugh at my absolute ignorance, but I am inquisitive, so I will learn. All right. I will learn. I will question why there are snakes in the ocean. Do they breathe underwater? Do they have gills? Do they have any predators? They're obviously not apex, obviously. But what is exactly eats them?
For 8 hours. You can clock in for a shift at work and still leave the building before this snake needs air. That's because some of these snakes can absorb oxygen through their skin. Also, these snakes can dive up to 300 feet straight down, because of course they can. If you didn't already know that, this right here is probably the worst possible way to find out. And because that obviously just wasn't enough, some of the most venomous snakes on the planet are actually the ones in the ocean. This is an olive sea snake, and it's toxic enough to put 60 men to gods recently deleted. And then you have the black banded sea crate, whose venom is 10 times stronger than a cobra's. They're naturally shy though, so they won't attack you unless you honestly give them a reason. But when you have the power to put an entire family reunion in the dirt, the least nature can do is make you an introvert. Also, this snake will create an optical illusion that makes it look like it's facing the other direction and swimming backwards. meaning if you try to grab one and pick the wrong end, you can go from an is to a was expeditiously. But the biggest op of all is probably the Belcher's sea snake. They're not super dangerous because they rarely bite, and when they do, they don't release all their venom. That being said, because it's the most venomous snake in the ocean, they can put 100 men in coffins with one bite. Symptoms after getting bit include muscle pain, tongue swelling, convulsions, and eventually becoming a story on the 9 o'clock news. Now I could be wrong, but that might have been the snake in this video. So yeah, this is proof that nature does not care about your feelings. This fish is the most Australian thing ever. Honestly, a middle finger from nature. Most animals have to choose, like you can have camouflage like the snow leopard that's looking right at you. Most animals have...
Is there something in this image that I'm missing? A snow leopard that's looking right at you. Nah, I don't think so, guys. Could be wrong. Yeah, I think I'd probably be eaten, bro.
Have to choose, like you can have camouflage like the snow leopard that's looking right at you.
Like he really means that there's something inside this image. A snow leopard that's looking right at you. Oh, bro, I don't even see any eyes. Yeah, guys, I'll be eaten.
Or you can stand out, but only by being toxic like
Let me know if you guys found
this
it.
frog. Or you can be this hellspawn with gills and be both. Because if the stonefish doesn't move, it can cosplay as just another rock in the water. The bad news is, it's the most venomous fish on the planet with dorsal spines as sharp as hypodermic needles. If you accidentally step on a stonefish, those spines will extend and penetrate through your skin. All while injecting you with a life-threatening venom that, if not treated, can turn you into a hashtag in less than 2 hours. This homicide guppy produces toxins that can cause excruciating pain, swelling, tissue death, and everything death. One victim told ABC News that getting stung felt like getting hit with a sledgehammer for an hour straight. And again, if you don't get medical attention fast enough, 60 Minutes won't just be a show on CBS, it'll be your expiration date. Scientifically speaking, that's a dick move. As you see, most poisonous and venomous animals have the decency to at least warn you before they airdrop you to God's inbox. This octopus will flash its blue rings, and the dart frog's bright colors are to warn the jungle senses that touching it means touching the heaven gates. But like a true menace, a stonefish doesn't give a warning until it's 6 inches deep in your foot. Fun fact, there's 4 of them in this picture. Oh, and because Australia lives on veteran difficulty, the stonefish can survive out of water for up to 24 hours. Also, its venom lowers your white blood cell count, meaning you can catch an infection even after you get treated. All that from a fish that looks like a rock. It's like if stop signs were made in Braille. It's like a red flag, but you're colorblind. Because in Australia, mistaking a stonefish for the first part of its name can get you put under a stone. This fish and whoever made it. Are we really just gonna ignore the fact
Probably Australia
that killer whales give sharks PTSD? Welcome to Animal Logic, let's talk about it. Orcas are the most disrespectful animal on the planet, and that's exactly what happens when no one can check you. Other than humans, the only thing that can take on an orca and win is a bigger orca. Because they're the top of the food chain, orcas bully the entire underwater census, and they legitimately traumatize great white sharks. If Jaws happens to encounter an orca near their hunting grounds, they'll abandon the area for up to a year. And for good reason. Orcas actually figured out that if they flip over sharks, they can induce tonic immobility, paralyzing the shark while the Bundy dolphins take its liver, heart, testes, and probably its life too. Killer whales have been seen punching seals up to 80 feet in the air just like a funeral. Researchers believe they do this to either paralyze the seal or loosen its skin. But there's always a chance that these psychopaths do this because they find joy in putting a seal in the clouds. They're also intelligent enough to work together to create a wave that's so powerful that it knocks the seal completely off the ice. And just when he thinks he's safe on the beach, Steroid Flipper reminds him it's an orca's world and he just lives in it. And even though they're built like an 8 to 12,000 pound equality symbol, they can launch themselves up to 15 feet in the air. Really bad news if you're a bottlenose in the wrong place. And they slap stingrays. Just cause they can. This swimming sociopath is the most oppressive force in the entire ocean, and even though a wild orca has never caused a human obituary, some have started ramming into sailing boats off the coast of Spain and Portugal, damaging the boats and injuring the crew. Considering orcas are one of the most intelligent creatures on the planet, there was 100% malicious intent. And because this ocean Oreo has a range of almost everywhere, a grocery list of almost everything, and their weaknesses only exist in fiction, the homicidal sea panda is truly a cheat code. Killer whales go through menopause and...
Okay, yeah, listen, I know nothing about these animals. I thought that they were beautiful, always. Was it Free Willy, one of these guys? Yeah, I think I've seen him in Florida, like when I was a baby or something like that. Guys, I don't remember. I was too young, right? But I remember seeing one of these things in like real life, like at a like SeaWorld was it called? SeaWorld potentially, right? But other than that, I did not know that they were like this. So why would we hold one of these absolute monstrosities in captivity?
It makes them the best grandmothers in the ocean. So orcas can live for 50, 60, some even reach 80 years, but the female will stop being able to have kids at around 30 to 40. Normally, shutting down the baby factory that early would be bad, but the female orcas that can't have kids anymore will then focus on raising their kids' kids. These grandmother orcas will lead their pod, using their decades of experience to teach all the younger ones the best places to find food. And in true grandmother fashion, the killer whales that grow up around this granny orca have a better chance of surviving and having kids of their own. And since
Generally,
the oldest orca was allegedly
families
as old as the Titanic,
function.
they can even end up raising their great-grandchildren. By being that old head that we all need in our lives, the grandma sea panda makes sure that her genes keep getting passed down to the next generation by looking after her grandchildren. This
Oldest
grandmother
recorded
effect is
was
because female orcas
105
that don't
years
have their
old.
own children to worry about have more time to focus on teaching and looking after their grandkids. Moral of this video: orcas are homicidal equality symbols that are the biggest bullies in the ocean. But they're also the biggest grandmama's boys on the planet, and that is the most wholesome thing I can ever say about them. This is the stupidest thing I've ever gotten mad about, but I'm making this video because if I have to have this argument one more time, I'm gonna lose whatever's left of my mind.
Okay.
Squidward is not a squid. He's an octopus. Don't comment yet, I know you're gonna say it. Octopus have 8 tentacles, and this punching bag with a nose has 6. That's literally only because they thought it'd be easier to animate him that way.
I'm gonna be honest, probably only he took offense to this.
Also, if he were a squid, he'd have 2 longer feeding
Okay, I
tentacles that
see.
he'd have to drag
I see
around
the difference
everywhere.
now.
Also, octopus have round bulbousy heads and squids have triangle-shaped domes.
Yeah,
In
I see the
case
difference,
you don't believe
bro.
me, because I know some of you won't. The
I didn't
literal
believe you at all.
creator of the show said it. You don't gotta listen to me, but I wish you would try to tell the man that drew the talking sponge that he's wrong. I mean, you can't now, but damn. In case you're wondering why his name is Squidward, well, Octoword just sounds stupid. You know what, since we're on the subject, some male
He's not
octopus
wrong.
pack their, baby making equipment on their mantle near their head, and it's called the hectocotylus. So yeah, 2 things. That might not be a nose, and there's a reason bro never wears pants.
Oh, that is probably not.
That
a
is
nose.
an Australian giant
It's probably not a
cuttlefish.
nose, bro.
Normally having Australian and giant in your name means you're a menace to society, but they're actually pretty chill. It's a cephalopod, meaning it's basically the little brother of octopus and squid. Cuttlefish have W-shaped pupils to balance out uneven levels of light where they live. And they can see forms of light that are pretty much invisible to us. Also, in an experiment, scientists put 3D glasses on cuttlefish, and it turns out they use depth perception just like us. Something about this just makes me happy. Cuttlefish can also change colors and patterns in seconds, and as breathing kaleidoscopes, they'll use this to hypnotize crowds before they retire them from life. But they can also use this color change to hide to avoid being put on the shirt themselves. Seriously, he's in there somewhere. Also, since the males are bigger than the females, some of the smaller males will pretend to be females. By changing his skin pattern and hiding the special arm that only the males have, this cross-dresser sneaks past the other guys and then plants his seed in the female when the others aren't looking. Yeah, they're really smart. How smart, you ask? Well, it turns out they're smart enough to pass the snack test. Y'all remember that TikTok trend where they would put a snack in front of a little kid and then tell them not to eat it so they could get a better snack? Well, it turns out cuttlefish can be trained to have self-control. The best ones would resist eating a treat that was right in front of them for almost 3 minutes, as long as it meant they got a better treat in return. Moral of this video: cuttlefish are really freaking cool.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
guys. Listen. He begins and ends way too quickly. All right. The orcas are probably the most interesting thing to me because I honestly thought that they were like nice creatures, but apparently they're not. The fact that they're basically just eating seals 80 feet into the sky is something that's troubling. Poor seals. He says it's done to loosen the skin. All right, that's a thing. No problem. I definitely thoroughly enjoy watching these because I'm learning so much more than I normally would ever learn about animals, guys. All right, so definitely keep suggesting these to me. But all right, listen, yeah, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day and then enjoy your day thoroughly.